All right, and on that note, there you go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Fertig. I'm a senior infrastructure consultant with AIS, and I now specialize as a cloud infrastructure architect. It wasn't planned, but we're kind of going to work under a descending order of amount of code. I don't do code. I couldn't code my way out of a paper bag. But there's a lot of commonalities in the principles and the strategies we talked about tonight. Everything kind of feeds into the same thing. When I talk to you about log analytics, because these principles are linked up in the idea that we have to keep all this stuff running. We have to keep the lights on. And Bob's stuff sounds really important, and I'd love to hear about what the scaling strategies have been and how those checkboxes were built in order to provide the right amount of scale. That kind of work, the groundwork that does that, is what I'm talking about. So, I come from a long-time background of architecture for scale. I've worked with agencies where they need to serve close to top of 44,000 total users. Concurrent load gets up to 12,000 users at about 2 p.m. once everyone gets back from lunch. We need to know not only are the lights on still, is everything healthy, but we need to keep track of how have consumption of the resources been doing over the last 6 months? And how does it pair up with this other information about applications that go live or features that get added to the application? So here's the quick rundown, and I'm going to be going at a high level to talk about the strategy of implementing log analytics, leveraging OMS in Azure. We're going to talk about options for data collection, the way hybrid implementations work, and we're going to talk about how some of the dashboards give you a snapshot, how they can be leveraged to give you more. Definitely not going to read this, but this basically shows you what you can do in terms of monitoring. And you're seeing that there's Azure monitoring of any object that Azure has, be it IaaS or PaaS role, or network objects that are in between. They can all be monitored and the information gathered together. Application insights give you information on the application specifically. It goes a lot into what Bob was talking about, for example, with applications information as to how the health of the actual data and the application progression and the business model that goes with it. You can pair that up with it also. And then there's also an ability to integrate with other line of business operation systems, most importantly, System Center Operations Manager. And I'll give you more information on this. First of all, let's talk about rough data collection strategies. When you're in Azure, you've got the same constructs I talked to you about, whether it's IaaS or PaaS roles or network objects, NSG objects. Any kind of Azure object has the ability to get data collected directly on it. We're talking, and you need that for performance information. That's the how are we doing now and how's it been doing since this morning. Connectivity, network connectivity, network to network, be it in-house or back down to on-premises connectivity. And this is important for permission data, compliance information. Are we maintaining our security posture as we have been required to? In addition, you have change management information you could tie in also. And any other additional governance, compliance requirements that you can be aggregated together. And then on-prem, you have interests for integration wherever you can there. Is it possible to tie it all in together? And it is. You have log analytics that will, your opportunity to aggregate that information all there with a single language is all present. In addition, there is OMS agents that can be loaded onto IaaS machines that can provide more in-depth performance analysis, counter information, and whatever else you can dream up. Anything you can put on a perfmon counter or event log or anything like that can be tied into the engine. And then when it comes to on-premises, you have the opportunity, to tie it into Operations Manager or create an agent connection to it, or you could even tie it into other COTS operation systems. A couple diagrams to look through. There's an OMS gateway installation that can be done to extend this log analytics structure into other networks, virtual networks, or even on-prem networks. The connectivity is through 443 only, so you can gather the same level and amount of data with a much smaller footprint on the network infrastructure and feed it into the data analytics, the log engine that you'll be using. In addition, there's the tie-in with Operations Manager. This gives you the ability to either leverage your existing operation structure one way or the other. You can use SCOM extending that information that you've gotten from Azure, or you can use the Azure dashboards and abilities to also gather information from SCOM and put that together in the same heuristics. Just shows you a small taste of the styles of data collection you can do. It's important to, who is not working with a hybrid environment right now? Who's not concerned about whether or not the servers at home can talk to the virtualization? Well, I didn't think I would get any interest in that one. Everything is hybrid, is the reality of it. And having the pulse of operational security, governance, and compliance functionality between all the environments together is not just valuable, but critical. The strategy you have to keep in mind is that we've got to find everything that our business application touches or relies on, and every way that we can squeeze out a little bit more information and feed it into the data stream so that we can join it together later on. And you need to keep track of wherever you're missing information, where you need to add more intelligence. You have an opportunity to add more and more complexity. And so this list will keep going for you. You'll never get through it. But your intelligence for your operational and security heartbeat will get better and better. So when your data is collaborated all together like this, it goes into the same ideas that we've been talking about tonight. You have the opportunity to create queries, to create dashboards, to see a red light or green light based on the culmination of data throughout the application, or the security of the systems all along the pipeline, or the performance or stress of a system over a long period of time. And this is where I find things very critical for enormous environments. Finding out how much memory or core consumption is being done over the last 24 hours is not valuable compared to seeing what it was like over the last 6 months, mapping into it when each time we went live with the new system, or each time a new catastrophe happened, or each time a new application went live. Map those all together, put those data points down, and now you have a real strip of information that give you a much better strategy for how you are scaling up or scaling down, and for how your system may grow over the next 6, 12, 36 months. And this information is critical because when you come from the infrastructure background, as a young guy, you just want to ask the decision makers to give you more cores and give you more memory. And the truth is, decision makers may want to do that, but they need to know what the reason is. And metrics makes the world go round. So when you provide the data in black and white, you're not just getting your way from from the administration standpoint. You're providing confidence for the decision makers to know that, yeah, we're not just talking about 6 weeks worth of data. We're talking about the last 9 months, and we've seen every blip along the way, and this is what we need. And for that confidence, there is just the idea of the kind of dashboarding information you have. Now, I'll show you just a couple grabs of what's laying out there on the OMS portal or the log analytics portal. They're kind of linked. But they can be leveraged further with some development. You can access these through Power BI, and there's an API that's being developed. It's it works great in the commercial side. I think it's still being leveraged, more features coming out in the Gov side. The idea is that you want to be able to take everything you have in place and extend it, put it all together, and create these data streams that we've been talking about all night. So in just a red light, green light sense, there's access to all the OMS solutions put together in just a badge format, give you just a sense of whether or not that you need to give any attention and to what area. This is more like a health area or a compliance area. Drilling in farther, it's encouraged and very smart to take some of these specific items and start putting them into your own dashboard, start structuring them specifically to your own health. They make it very easy to do that, and it works way better. The dashboard area in log analytics, you can structure it so that it shows you a quick snapshot of what the compliance and security situation is. And I really get a lot of traction with more decision makers and more extension when you start showing some of the other utilization statistics that go along with this. These are just showing examples of what kind of protocol traffic is coming in and out of the VNet, and when is it hitting. And you can take this data and extend it past and talk about the other security stuff when you slice it in there. So just a couple slides left. The key takeaway is strategize what you have right now. Try to extend what you have now and maybe tie it into what's available to you in your Azure environment. There's no reason to not leverage the existing systems. Everybody's got an operation systems and some log capability that's going on now. You absolutely should look into tying it all together. You should always look into growing this integration more. There's more opportunities. There's modules to add more in-depth analysis, well into SQL and every API level, and not just about performance anymore. It's about, you want to do AD replication, you could do that. If you want to do information about how .NET's health, is to go with it, you can add that all together. So this is just, I'll leave this up here for a couple minutes. If someone wants to snap that and see some of these references as they go forward. But that's just an idea of what's capable, take these strategies and the principles that we've talked about tonight and extend them into an operational advantage to keep these lights on better, to better explain exactly how this money is being used, and exactly the value that's being provided, and where we expect to go to from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Please join us in our next meetup. That's October 18th. And don't forget our mixer tomorrow night. And stick around, network, ask questions, whatnot, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.